have some freedom, right?
It certainly is.
Yeah.
Wonderful congregation.
One of the things I usually don't get criticized for doing things.
And they're scared to death that they're going to be stupid if we do something different.
That's easy.
They can't
All right, things you should know this week. This is a reminder, check the back of your bulletin just to make sure you haven't missed anything there. All our activities are listed there. We have a Halloween party here in the sanctuary on October 31st. I believe that's an Eileen Leapley-led production. Go, Eileen. Starts at 4. Costumes are heavily suggested. I'm going to be here. Apparently, Nancy is going to be a pirate, so it's going to be fun. So come on down. Please sign up on the sign-up sheets on the lanai so we know how many to expect. This is your weekly reminder to please silence your phones or any other electronics as we enter into sacred space. Community Outreach is going to be collecting new toys for Jesse's Toy Box on Sunday the 12th and the 19th of this month. Jesse's Toy Box was founded by a little boy undergoing cancer treatment, and his wish was that every child undergoing care should receive a gift of a toy to help alleviate their pain and fear. So the organization distributes toys to hospitals, emergency rooms, infusion centers, and first responders. So far, they've delivered over 10,200 toys in Sarasota County. So please see Janet Knudsen. Janet, are you in here? There's Janet. Please see Janet Knudsen for a list of specific items they really need. And we have something for Mr. Steve Leapley. I'm going to start making him play Hail to the Chief when he walks up.
Good morning, everybody. Next week, immediately after the service, before you get your coffee, because it won't take that long, I'm going to make a presentation in regards to what the Board of Directors, I'll be okay, brain's gone, Board of Trustees, CC, Coordinating Council, and the Security Committee are planning on doing to make our place more secure. As you know, you're reading the paper and stuff, we're having all sorts of issues. So we have some plans, and I will be sharing them with you next week. Plan on no more than 10 minutes, unless I get a lot of questions. So immediately after the service, stay here, and I'll give you some information, and then you can go have coffee and donuts or whatever. Thank you.
Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Venice, known fondly as UCOV. Whether you have been here many times before, or this is your first Sunday, know that you are welcome at this table we set together, temporary as it may be, but made holy by our presence. Our service today is called Temporary Tables. Life is about change. Sometimes slow and gentle, and sometimes takes our breath away in a world where almost nothing feels permanent. We often wonder, where do we find peace? Where do we find security when everything seems to shift beneath our feet? We will look today at the wisdom of the Jewish holiday of Sukkot, a time when people dwell in temporary shelters open to the sky and the stars to remind us that impermanence can be a teacher. It can show us that even fragile spaces can hold great joy, deep love, and unexpected peace. Here in this community, we create our own temporary shelter week after week. Together we share stories, music, and silence. Together, we hold one another steady, even when the world feels uncertain. So let us take a breath. Let us set aside the worries we carried through the door, and let us build for this 1 hour a table of welcome, of wisdom, and of love. For our chalice lighting, we have the following. We light this chalice as we gather at a temporary table, a place not built of stone or steel, but of welcome, hope, and care. May this flame be our hearth for the hour, a steady light amid shifting shadows, reminding us that love is the table that endures through every change.
Temporary tables can be amazing. Some of the most fun I've ever had has been at a temporary table where we propped a door over a couple of sawhorses and laid out a crab boil. Someone fired up a bonfire and somebody else got a guitar and somebody told terrible jokes, and I bet you can't guess who that was. And we were all there in that moment together. It's true, the only real constant in life is change. And in between, we need the little moments where we are simply present and recognizing the amazing perfection of that changing and transient moment that will never come again. I love the writer Wendell Berry. In his poem, The Peace of Wild Things, he writes, "When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night to the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and I lay down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things where they do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water. I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light, and for a time, I just rest in the grace of the world and I am free. This is the kind of peace that we need. This is the peace of the Jewish holiday of Sukkot. This is the calm in the storm of life. It may not last, but while it is there, it is perfection. So we are here today in this small place at this temporary table of our own. So come and let us worship here together. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing our opening hymn this morning, number 347, Gather the Spirit. The time in our service when we do our offering, and we always do it with a joke because giving shouldn't be painful. The pastor of a small UU church was excitedly explaining to a colleague how he had managed to keep his little church solvent in a terrible financial year. For a long time, he said, I prayed really hard. I prayed to God to send us some money, please, Lord. He said, but then I realized the Lord doesn't work that way, and he may not even exist. Well, what did you do, his colleague said, looking around the church, which was beautifully well appointed. Your church certainly seems to be doing okay. Oh, that was easy, the first minister said. Once I realized that the Lord doesn't hand out cash, I just robbed a bank and prayed like hell for forgiveness. Now, because I'm no good at knocking over banks, this morning's offering will now be given and gratefully received. Thank you so much, not just for these gifts, but for everything you do for this community. It's as a community of human hearts and human hands that we come together here to struggle with life's sorrows and celebrate life's joys. So if you have something to share, please raise a hand. And I think Marcia and Tony, one of them, will bring you a microphone. If you're new here, please feel free to raise your hand and introduce yourself if you would like.
Hi, I'm Marilyn Amick. I just wanted to let my good friend Carol in Buffalo, New York, know, because she watches the service every Sunday, that I put a new page for her husband, Bill Wolfers, in the memorial book, and I'll be sending her a picture of it on my phone if I can get it to do that.
Hi, I'm Nancy Minaldi Scanlon. A lot of you know that my husband Michael has been very sick for the last 6 months, and I just want to thank this congregation for the incredible kindness that you continue to show. I mean, it's been a long time, and people still come up to me and ask how he is and ask how I am. People still offer to do things. I still get cards and phone calls. And I'm just really grateful. Thank you.
I found out this week that a very dear, dear friend of mine lost her 7-year-old granddaughter to leukemia 1 month after she was diagnosed. So please pray for my friend Sue. I'm heartbroken for her, and I can't imagine the pain she's going through.
Hi, I'm Jean B., and it is birthday Sunday again. First Sunday of every month, I get to put together something nice out there, and we got a pretty cake and a pretty table and some wonderful birthday signs made by Marcia and Barb, and just a lovely time. So come by the table afterward and share. May I go ahead and read just first names? Yeah. Thank you. We have a lot of people here, a lot this month, so wow, 9 months before this one, everybody was having a great time. because we've got a lot of people in October. But you know what I heard on a game show this week? They asked, what is the month with the highest number of births? And I thought it would be September or October. It was August. Interesting. Anyway, happy birthday to everybody who has a birthday. Bob and Charlene and Michelle, Paula, Jack and Nancy Head, Judy Hypel, Ellen Higdon, David, Stan, Carl, and Connie. Yes, and Hector. I miss Hector. Anyway, thank you so much. Let's say happy birthday to all of them through music. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Thank you.
May the love of this community hold all who need love and concern, and the light of our community shine on the broken places of the world. May those who are grieving be comforted, and those who are tired find rest. May the broken places be healed, and may those who are filled with joy and laughter be abundant.
Our first reading today is titled Sukkot by Rabbi Aaron Kruppich. And my Jewish knowledge and language is very limited, so here we go. All of us acknowledge how we often rush through life. If our flight traveling thousands and thousands of miles an hour is late, we complain, as if the sun refused to rise. We forget that we are sitting in a rocket ship that is flying at 30,000 feet at more than 500 miles per hour. We want to be there now. One used to write a letter and then wait a week or so for a response. Now you write a note, or rather an email, and if you don't hear back in 15 minutes, you start to guess why you have not gotten a response. Thankfully, there is Sukkot. Sukkot is a deliberately slow festival, one that focuses, in a way, on time. During this holiday, we read the book of Kohelet, Ecclesiastes. Kohelet reminds us that there is a time for everything under heaven. In the famous 3rd chapter, we are told that there is a time for living, for dying, for laughing, and for weeping. We think ourselves masters of time, but King Solomon reminds us that the true artistry of life is to live fully in time's passing, not trying to accomplish as much as possible in each fleeting hour. Sukkot slows everything down. The sukkah is a symbol of impermanence, a reminder that we must enjoy what we have in the here and now, because life itself is fragile. If a sukkah is built so that it is too sturdy, it is not a kosher sukkah. We must sit in something that is fragile, fleeting, sure to disappear in time, as a reminder that we must enjoy it now while it is still in good shape. The sukkah itself is a symbol of impermanence, and it's also a reminder of our own impermanence. It is that time moves on, but we must slow down to consider who we are, and what we have right now in this moment. Sukkot has a way of slowing life down. Not only must a sukkah be fragile, but its roof must be porous. You cannot fulfill the mitzvah of sitting in a sukkah unless branches that form the roof have sufficient space between them so that one can see the stars. The stars remind us that there is something much larger than us and our fragile lives. Looking at the stars helps us keep things in perspective. It helps us to understand that sometimes, seen from above, we are only running in circles. I think that the underlying message of Sukkot is that it is not the beauty of a building that you should look at, it's the construction of the foundation that will stand the test of time. So let us slow down, breathe deeply, and take time to appreciate the strong foundations on which our lives are built. For the meditation, I offer the following. Close your eyes if you wish, and take a slow breath in and a slow breath out. Imagine yourself beneath a fragile shelter, its roof made of branches, its walls open to wind and starlight. It will not last long, and yet for this moment, it is enough. What in your own life feels uncertain? What feels temporary? Let these truths rest gently here. Now imagine the people around you, their presence, their warmth, the steadiness of their breath beside your breath. This is also a kind of shelter. This is also a table of peace. Let us sit together in this tender place, knowing nothing is permanent, and yet everything is precious. With those words in mind, please join me in 1 minute of silent thought, meditation, or prayer. Very nice. Our second reading is titled The Small Work in the Great Work by Reverend Victoria Stafford. Our mission is to plant ourselves at the gates of hope, not the prudent gates of optimism, which are somewhat narrower, nor the stalwart, boring gates of common sense, nor the strident gates of self-righteousness, which creak on shrill and angry hinges. The place of resistance and defiance, the piece of ground from which we see the world both as it is and as it could be, as it will be. The place from which we glimpse not only struggles, but the joy of struggle. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing hymn number 1002, Comfort Me, in the blue hymnal.
I don't know how many of you grew up in households like mine, but there were always things that you weren't allowed to touch because they were special. How many of you had special china that you didn't eat off of? Some of us had special couches or divans that were covered with a plastic cover. You weren't allowed to sit on them. Some of our rugs had plastic runners, and you weren't allowed to walk on them. And the horrible thing was that the great and special day where these things were going to be used almost never came. We got out the dishes that were so beautiful and our parents and grandparents had saved and scrimped, and sometimes we saved. We got them out at what? Christmas, Easter, Hanukkah, Rosh Hashanah? One night, we were terrified one of the kids was going to drop one of them. And we got out the paper-thin glassware, and somebody always did drop one of those. And we didn't enjoy it because we just knew it was going to get wrecked. How many of your mothers ever had a fit down on her hands and knees trying to get something off of something? Because we just knew it was going to be ruined and then it would never be right again because it had to be perfect. Nothing is meant to be forever. Said it before, some of the best minutes are at those temporary tables. And maybe you've had some of them. An old wood picnic table under the stars with somebody that you never wanted to stop talking to. Maybe a banged up card table overloaded with casseroles, watching your grandkids run around. Maybe even a plastic folding table set up on the lanai after a memorial service, where sadness turned to laughter and stories. Those tables and those moments weren't meant to last forever. They didn't have any plastic covers or pieces meant to preserve them. They were going to get wrecked. They wobble, they stain, they sag. But yet in those fragile, fleeting gatherings, something really sacred happens. Temporary tables are those fleeting, sacred spaces, spaces that don't even pretend like they should have a plastic wrap or a cautious, careful place in the cupboard. They're shelters that don't keep out every storm and don't even try. Meals and moments that will never be repeated exactly the same way again, and yet they feed us and they sustain us. They teach us something about being human. And as we reflect today, I want you to think about the wisdom of the Jewish festival of Sukkot, where the people of Israel built fragile huts called sukkah, and they live in them for a week. The sukkah is not a fortress. It doesn't have walls. It is definitely not great in any way. It is not a house of brick and stone. The roof has to be made of very thin branches where you can let in the rain and let in the starlight. It has to be intentionally flimsy and temporary. It's a reminder of the Israelites' journey and that life is fragile and that joy is possible, even when it's not perfect, even when it's not meant to stay, and that matters. Because let's face it, impermanence is all that there is. We know the truth in our bones. Life is change, sometimes slow, like watching your child grow step by step by step. Sometimes it's fast, like a hurricane hitting and rearranging our coastline in one day. And sometimes the changes seem to be so relentless and so fast that we can't catch our breath and we start to drown in that future shock. And with change after change after change, your first instinct is to hold on tightly, to grab that shifting sand and try to keep it from falling, to refuse to accept the change, to look for the pieces that are surely eternal and forever. The poet Mary Oliver once wrote, "To live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing that your life depends on it, and when the time comes to let it go, to let it go." Everything goes. Temporary tables teach us that lesson, and they invite us to savor what is here now. This bread, this laughter, this friendship, without clinging to the illusion that it will always remain the same. But here's the paradox, and it's a big one. The minute that we stop demanding permanence, we experience more peace. When we stop clutching at life as if we could make it stay, we find we can breathe. We can give thanks. We can see the stars through the cracks. That's what this Jewish holiday, the holiday of Sukkot, is all about, rejecting the demand for the permanent. And the holiday holds a profound countercultural wisdom. Imagine leaving your sturdy home to go eat and sleep in a fragile hut for a week. Imagine explaining to your grandchildren that yes, the roof leaks, and yes, the walls sway in the wind, and yes, that's the point. Rabbi Aaron Krupnik writes that the sukkah is a symbol of impermanence, a reminder that life itself is fragile and we must live fully in the present. He reminds us that the roof must be porous enough to see the stars. Why? Because sometimes, I know I do, maybe you do, we need to be reminded that we are so small. We are part of something greater, and we don't have to carry it all on our shoulders. That's an amazing thought, when sometimes it feels like we have to carry it all. In the sukkah, the impermanence is not frightening, but freeing. For 1 week, just 1 week, life slows down, and the sukkah whispers, this moment is enough. And we live in a culture that is not good with that idea. We raise buildings that scrape the clouds now in this world. We store our photos in the clouds as if they will last forever. We Botox our faces and we dye our hair. We chase youth as if it were permanent. And we want to believe that security can be bought and stability can be engineered. We can hold change at bay. But life tells us not so much. It calls the illusion into question. The truth is, every table is temporary. Every home is fragile. Every body is mortal. Decorate it in ways that bring you joy, not to try to stop time. And yet, the temporary status is not cause for despair, it's cause for reverence. When we accept that our tables are temporary, we stop rushing past them. We linger over the meal with friends. We tell the story one more time. We notice the starlight coming through the cracks. We stop fearing every wrinkle and gray hair and think, you know what, maybe I would like to try a little blue this time. Maybe a mohawk is for me. I want you to think about the temporary tables in your life. Maybe it was a real table. Maybe it was the hospital table where a loved one fed you soup. Maybe a camp table with the kids covered with marshmallows and ash and sticky that you couldn't identify. Maybe a church potluck table where someone became a friend. These were not tables built to last, but in those moments, you felt at home. Not because anything was sturdy, but because the love was real. And that's the heart of the message today. Permanence doesn't happen. Home isn't found in permanence. It's found in presence. Peace is not found in certainty, but in connection. When Wendell Berry talks about the peace of wild things, and he writes about laying down by still water and feeling the stars waiting with their light, and for a time resting in the grace of the world, that captures the sukkah spirit perfectly. When despair overwhelms us, when the impermanence of life feels frightening and unbearable, Berry points us back to wild things that do not tax themselves with forethought of grief. They live in the moment of transience, and in that moment there is peace. Our temporary tables, our fragile shelters, they give us the same invitation. Sit, rest, be here now. And these tables aren't only about personal comfort, they also have a little bit of a prophetic power. In Scripture, the sukkah is a reminder of the Israelites wandering in the wilderness without permanent shelter, dependent on their God and one another. In today's world, it calls us to remember the millions who live without permanent homes, or refugees, migrants, the unhoused. If we can learn to find peace in our fragile shelters, we can also learn solidarity with those whose shelters are not temporary by choice. Our temporary tables call us to remember, to build a world where all people can find shelter, even if fragile, and where every table is wide with welcome. So what does it mean to us, having heard all this, to live this out? It means continuing to embrace change as part of our spiritual life, trusting that the spirit of life moves in new ways, treasuring the fleeting, celebrating birthdays, memorials, laughing together, crying together, knowing none of it can be repeated, and none of it needs to be. It means creating temporary tables of justice and hospitality in the world whenever we can, feeding the hungry like we'll be doing over the next several weeks with our food drives, welcoming the stranger, holding vigils for peace. These tables last for only a moment, but they leave an imprint. A woman I knew years ago built a sukkah in her backyard here in Florida. And the palm fronds sagged, and the humidity made the fabric walls droop, and the whole thing was honestly a mess. It looked like it would collapse with a good kick. And she invited everybody she knew, most of them her neighbors who had never celebrated Sukkot. And they all crammed under there, and they laughed at the mosquitoes, and they ate the food, and they told stories. And at the end of the week, she took it down, and one of her neighbors said to her, "You know, that night that you invited us over, that was the first time in years I just felt at peace." The sukkah may be gone, but the peace endures. That's the power of a temporary table. And it wanders through every religion. The Buddha said that impermanence is the mark of all existence. Jesus told us not to store up treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy. The mystics of every faith whisper the same truth. Nothing lasts forever, and that is a gift. What is fleeting becomes precious. A child's laugh, a friend's hand, the taste of the perfect loaf of bread, the song of the congregation. So how do we live as people of temporary tables? 3 simple things. 1, pause and notice. Wherever you are, be here now. Feel the moment. Say to yourself quietly, this is enough for right this minute. Don't always be rushing off to do the next thing and the next. Be here now. The second, hold loosely. Love fully but without clinging. Do not try to keep the shifting sand in your hand. Treasure the people in your life, but let them grow and change. And if the time comes, let them go with love. And 3, build together. Don't try to make your tables unshakable, whatever they are. Invite others into your life, share what you have, because any temporary situation becomes holy when it's been put together with love. Invite people into your messy kitchen. Have the grandkids over when the living room doesn't look right. Go out looking a little ragged. Every table we set is temporary. Every shelter we build is fragile. Every moment, every body is fleeting. But within that impermanence is a profound gift, the chance to be fully alive, fully present, and fully grateful. Treasure it. Gather around it with laughter and tears and bread and song and story and silence. See the stars, because we may be very, very small, but we are not alone. We're here together. When the moment passes, when the table is taken down, may the peace we find there go with us. May the love endure. And may the shelter remain in our hearts, because life is changed and nothing is fixed. And yet even the most fragile shelter can hold deep joy, great love, and unexpected peace. Amen. We extinguish this flame, but not the warmth of the table we have shared. Like the sukkah that stands only for a season, this gathering too is temporary, and yet it endures. May we carry from this place the reminder that nothing is fixed, and still in every fragile moment, love and community can be our shelter. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing our closing hymn this week, number 30, Over My Head, verses 1, 2, and 4. Temporary table, may we carry with us the truth that all life is change, and within change is possibility. Go in peace, go in hope, go in joy, and may the tables you set in your own lives be wide and welcome and deep with grace. Peace, Ashe, and may it be so.
I had one church that you had to write it in a book, and then they bring the book up and read it if it was appropriate.